We are in the midst of the Lok Sabha elections that will elect a new government, the results on June 4. But before the results and before the second round of voting takes place, a familiar old bogey has come up again. This is the inheritance tax, a tax that supposedly would reduce inequality and provide for greater economic balance. At least that's the argument that's been advanced by the likes of Sam Pitroda of the Congress, and as expected, that has sparked a furor about the need and justification for an inheritance tax in India. On the show today on Easynomics, I have a panel of experts with me, and the question that I'll pose to them: are inheritance taxes required in India? Do they work? What is the international experience in this regard? Among many other questions. And joining me to debate that, Sudhir Kapadia, Senior Partner of Tax and Regulatory Services at EY. We're also joined by one of India's most well-known income tax experts, Mr. Ved Jain. We are also joined by Professor Arun Kumar, author and former Professor of Economics at Jawaharlal Nehru University. During the show, we'll also be joined by other guests. Fair point, Professor Kumar. Ved Jain, I'm coming to you on Professor Kumar's point, and I would argue that that is why you have slabs in income tax. The more you earn, the higher rate of tax that you are liable to pay, and you have cesses and surcharges also that are levied, perhaps with a different purpose.
I was coming to that point.
Let me go to Mr. Jain. Professor Kumar, I'll come to you so that everyone gets an equal opportunity. Mr. Jain, do you think that this is the way to ensure greater equity? Because we already have slabs in income tax. Then why even talk about intergenerational transfer taxation?
See, sometimes some idea looks attractive because it looks to be a populistic measures, but we need to understand the ground reality and the ultimate goal which a country or which a society wants to achieve. Idea is to achieve an economic growth, and prosperity and equality will come only when we are able to do more business. There is a growth in the economy, we are able to generate employment, we are able to make people enabler rather than dependent. That's the most important aspect of any economic growth, and that's the success of a country. So keeping that in mind, to answer your question first, that's why direct taxes are kept in what we call a progressive system of taxation. As your income grows up, your ability to pay increases, and that's why there is a progressive rate of taxation. If you have an income below threshold, you need not pay any tax. If you have income above threshold to a particular amount, you have a capacity to pay 5 or 10%. If you go beyond that threshold limit, then you have a capacity to pay 20%, beyond that 30%. So that's why the Indian system and the global system is on direct taxes, on personal taxation is almost same. And in India, the present rate of taxations are almost equivalent to one of the what we call the best rate in the globally, whether it is Europe, whether it's America or other country. 30%, and then surcharge going up to 37% or 25% on income above 5 crore. That's a progressive rate of taxation. Now, the second issue is whether there should be inheritance tax or not. We must keep the history of India in mind and how our economy has grown up over the period. We introduced inheritance tax way back. India at that point of time was following what we call the so-called socialism, but more inclined to communalism, communist theory, working it out. It didn't work. Economy could not grow, and that's why we abolished it way back in 1985. We abolished our gift tax in 1998. We abolished our wealth tax in 2016. The reasons you need to understand: we need to build capital. Now, from where the investment will flow? Do we intend to believe that all investment in infrastructure, new project, manufacturing, and make in India in 2047 capital of the world, manufacturing capital? Right. Where the money will come? Money will come from the entrepreneur. An entrepreneur need to have the capital, and that capital will come where they earn and they pay taxes on the regularly every year, and they save money, and that money that saved, they employ in businesses, they deploy in business and create employment, and that employment create demand consumption, and that will propel the economy. That's a multiplier effect. Yeah.
Let me bring in Ved Jain to this. Mr. Jain, the point that I want to ask you is that we saw at one point of time, and I remember talking to you during that show also, we had close to 97.5% tax incidence in India. From there, we have moved to and gone ahead with a progressive tax architecture. If any, and it's not in the realm of possibility, and we are just discussing a hypothetical situation. However, if it were to come, would it not be fair to say that the rich would find ways to escape such a levy? They will create trusts, they will find other structures, and they will take the help of knowledgeable chartered accountants and firms and create structures to escape such a levy, and we will be left holding an empty can at the end of the day.
I feel, Siddharth, that's a human nature. So everybody will like to plan the tax in a manner, and its economic policies, its financial structure in a manner where tax get minimized. There is no second thought, and this phenomena and this psychology is not limited to India; it is across the globe. I have been practicing on international sites, and I have seen how that tax planning is done. There is no harm in that issue. But to address the issue which my friends have raised, both Akshayji and Rajivji has raised, the issue is the larger interest of the economy is at the heart. Why we collect taxes and why we distribute it. The issue is taxes are collected to meet the expenditure, which includes social expenditure also. But at the same time, objective is to make the population enabled, not dependent. Now, if you snatch away the money from the people who have the money and distribute it to the people who do not have money, from where the money will come tomorrow? Now, Mr. Akshay Kumar said that only 0.16% people are the rich people are there having the capital. I say yes, but there is no harm because these are the people where they're keeping the money, they are providing the necessary capital for the investment. Now, India is looking to such a large investment for 2047 when we want to make India as one of the largest capital economy of the world. We want to, from where the money will come. The money will, see, even if a person is earning money and after paying 35 or 40% tax, 60% is saved, and I say 5-10% is household expenditure, where the 50% goes? It goes in investment. And investment, where it goes into economy, because what that money will be utilized for the development, for putting factories, generating employment. Now, what you do, in case you collect some more taxes by levying inheritance taxes, what you will do? You will give subsidy, people will become more dependent, people will become more inefficient on that way. I do agree, subsistence should be there, enough money should be given, but the money which is required for infrastructure, it has to be self-sustained.
Right.
And you need for development, it should be self-sustained. And that is the money which follows. And this model has been followed across the globe. We have seen from 60s to 19 the model of the Russia and the other countries which have been following, and what ended up in 90s, late 90s. And now later on how that development is taking place.
Right.
We have how liberalization has helped India in economic growth. Now our per capita GDP is $2,500 and we are looking to double it by 2040. And in the next 6, 7, 8 years, how it is going to be? We want to achieve 7% economic growth. Unless the private investment will come from where it. Now say tomorrow if somebody want to put up a plant for 100 crore rupees from 25 crore rupees, from where the money will come? The money comes only this. So money with individual, money with corporate is not a bad money. That is also money with the nation, with money with the country, and to be used for productive purposes. Our thought process is that in case the money is in a private hand, it is an individual hand or in a corporate hand, it is a bad money. And it doesn't belong to society, it belongs to society. He's only a manager, he's only an administrator. He's helping the economic growth. Whosoever is a rich industrialist, ultimately he's working for the development of the economy, putting up more plants, generating more employment. That's the objective. And in case capital formation is not there, investment will not happen.
Investment won't happen. I'm completely out of time, but I'll just take 30 seconds each with all four of you. Sudhir Kapadia, I come to you. Given this debate, and obviously it might continue till the election results are known, the budget that will come in July, is there anything that you would be top of your preference list in terms of tax policy that you would expect the new government to announce?
In my view, the tax policy should continue to avoid uncertainties, have a stable tax regime, which you alluded to earlier, focus a lot more on still further improving compliances, ensuring that smaller taxpayers are less and less burdened with compliances, and provide an enabling environment for businesses to prosper. I think that itself would generate a lot more positive growth, and I would say address the inequality question, which is a real question, but that is a much better way to address it in my personal view.
Uh, Ved Jain, the question to you and a quick answer before I go to the other two guests. Do you think that some of the issues around joblessness and the context of corporates being leading in job creation, wouldn't it make sense for some sort of tax concessions to be given to those who companies which create more and more employment? Would you favor such an idea?
I do favor an idea, and to answer, I will just take that in a second. One is the tax law should be equitable, fair, and accountable. One. Secondly, in case we want to make India really the global capital of the manufacturing capital of the world, we need to promote manufacturing. And that's why we have introduced a concession rate of tax of 15% for corporate who put up a new plant and new machinery and who started it. Right. Which is sunset clause has come on 31st March 24. I am of the view that in case India has not become now manufacturing capital of the world, it has to become, and that's why we must encourage those who want to set up industry, etc., because they will generate employment. At the end of the day, taxes are levied for the help for the society.
Okay.
In case purpose of society gets served by putting up more manufacturing plant, more employment, that is a much better way. And that's why I say corporate tax rate for new manufacturing should be 15% with lesser burden of compliance, transparency, equality, and accountability with the tax administration.
Rajiv Mantri, the same question to you before I let Professor Kumar have the last word. Quickly, one point that you feel should be addressed in the upcoming budget.
So I have long spoken about this, that India needs a new direct tax code.
Okay.
So we need to overhaul the way we had an overhaul of indirect taxes via the GST. We need to overhaul the direct tax code. We need to have a new code for personal income tax, even for corporate income tax, etc.
Fair point. Fair point. Professor Kumar,
that's just to complete 5 more seconds. That's just not for in terms of the rate changes or anything, but in terms of how capital assets are taxed and certain anomalies and kind of outdated aspects exist there. So those should be reformed.
Fair point, because there has been a move to take away all exemptions and move towards lower incidence. Professor Kumar, that final question to you, 30 seconds answer. What would you want from the upcoming budget as far as tax is concerned?
So, the taxation should enable the problems of the economy to be sorted out. The problems are joblessness. The problem of joblessness will not be solved by the corporate sector because that only employs 6% of the workforce. 94% is in the unorganized sector. Unless you promote the unorganized sector in a big way, employment generation will not be buoyant. Demand is low because incomes at the lower level are low. Therefore, the investment rate has declined after 2012-13 from 36.5% to almost 30% in between. That has to be raised through demand. Capacity utilization, as per the RBI data, Obicus data, had fallen to 69%. That needs to go back to around 78-79%. For that, you require demand so that the industry can operate much faster. That would induce growth, that will result in higher tax collection. So rather than give tax concessions, what we need to do is generate demand. And that requires redistribution of income at the lower end so that demand can be buoyant. That's the only way economy will start growing at 7-8%. At the moment, the economy is not growing at 7-8%. It's growing at much lower rate because the unorganized sector is not counted in our GDP independently. And that's why the rate of growth is low. Even before the pandemic, you saw the rate of growth fall from 8% quarterly to 3.1% because of demand inequality. So you need to check those things.
Okay, viewers, we've had a wide span of responses to some of these key questions, but the argument for such an inheritance tax, if it were to be done, not too many countries around the world do this. The claim is it reduces inequality, it allocates resources more efficiently, provides social stability, and the argument against is it won't reverse inequality. It will lead to slowdown, it will lead to flight of capital, and will be a colossal mistake. We'll wait for the election results to know whether this debate will get carried forward. For now, I want to thank all my guests for their time with us today, and you, the viewer. We'll be back with more. Until then, goodbye.
It was 17 years.